Good afternoon, hello, welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. Welcome to a video all about bike fit. Now this video would not have been possible without Dan from UK Bike Fit. So I recently put a video out in which I met Dan and he told us a little bit about UK Bike Fit and his history, so I'm not going to go over that again. But Dan is a clinical bike fitter and physiotherapist based in Duffield in Derbyshire. He's a wealth of knowledge and excellent bike fit that comes very well recommended, so please do check him out if you are in the market for a bike fit. I'll leave his links down below and probably something on screen. When I went to Dan, I took my road bike that I've ridden for the last 3 or 4 years. I didn't think we need to do anything to it. I thought if anything, we were going to have to create some things in the name of content. As it happens, as you'll see in this video, I didn't have to. There are a few things that needed addressing that came up throughout the bike fit. So this video is basically the start to finish, the whole bike fit process, covered in as much detail as appropriate. So I hope you enjoy it. Hope you get something from it. Please let me know down below if you do. And yeah, I'll see you later. Okay, so we've just been on Dan's massage bed and you've poked and prodded me and maybe do stretches and stuff.
Make it sound like that.
Yeah. So what have we discovered? What's the purpose of it?
So the main, I guess, purpose of it is to find out what your normal is. So what your biomechanics are like, what your flexibility is like, how your core strength is, so that when we're starting to look at you on the bike, we can relate all that to your position and then work out whether it's good for you or bad for you. Because what's a good position for you and your flexibility and your biomechanics might not be suitable for someone else, or it won't be suitable for someone else. That's why we do it. What do we find? We found that you're particularly tight through your hips and your quads and your hip flexors, so everything in the front of your legs here. Hamstring flexibility, ankle flexibility, stability was really good. You potentially have a bit of weakness through the hips on the side, like the stabilizer muscles through the hips. When we were looking at you doing a single leg squat, your knees tended to track inwards without any movement at the foot. So
it's a bit wobbly.
A little bit wobbly. So when we get you on the bike, that'll be interesting to see how your knees track when you cycle.
So on a scale of, oh, you look like you really shouldn't be riding a bike, or you look like you're going to be an exceptional cyclist, where do I fall in that range in terms of like...
Definitely should not be riding a bike. Stick to running and swimming. There's no right or wrong with this. So there's no good and bad. There's no normal, if you like. So it really is just finding out what you can do and how you move.
Because you can adapt what that says on the bike. Yeah,
bike fitting for me is about moving the bike to cope and compensate for your movement patterns, to allow your body to do what it wants to do, rather than forcing it in a position that it doesn't want to be in. And that's the key to comfort. Okay, so we're going to look at everything to do with shoes. So Dan, we're starting with measuring my feet, okay? Yes.
Have you got a big stick?
Big sticks galore. So first thing we want to do is like I say, measure the feet and know not just length, but width of foot. From a shoe perspective, the biggest problem that I see is people riding shoes that are too narrow. Cycling shoes historically have been narrow. One of those where it's kind of always been like that. But actually a lot of cycling shoes are made, especially road shoes, performance in mind. They want to save as much weight as possible, material as possible, so they make them narrow for partly that reason as well. So that's what we're going to look at first with you. So you have 2 pairs of shoes. You're a size 48, so obviously pretty long, but the bit that I'm interested in is what width is your feet in relation to that length. 99. So your foot width is 104 and shoe width is 99. So you're 5 mil different. In an ideal world, you'd have a shoe that's 104 mil width or thereabouts. 5 mil isn't the end of the world, but it could be better. Definitely. When we were looking at your insoles, you could see that at the tip here, your toes were just getting a little bit squashed. You can see where the toe pads are here, especially around your big toe. You're really coming over the edge of the base of the insole here, and same on the third, which would imply the shoe just isn't quite wide enough, particularly around the toes. So you're really pressing up against the edge of the insole. In an ideal world, you'd have 5 mil wider shoe, but it's not terrible. I've seen plenty worse than that.
So this is the part of the bike fit where you've probably seen on everybody's Instagram who's had a bike fit. They get little stickers stuck on them. Dan, what's the point of the stickers?
Our software that we use is video analysis based software, so it gives us video footage basically. But within that software, we can measure angles, whatever measurements we want to take basically. So I'm just sticking these on certain parts of your body that I want to see clearly, so I can take measurements from them later when we start taking some video footage. So there's certain anatomical points that I want to know where the angle comes from. Like there's so many different anatomical points we could place this marker around your knee, but actually having it in the same place every time makes things repeatable. If you just want to do a little bit of pedaling for me, I'll take a bit of footage. Do you want to... So, the first thing that we're going to look at, knee and ankle positions. So I'm just going to put a couple of measurements on here. This is with your knee in maximum extension. So the most amount of extension it will ever need to complete the pedal stroke, 29.4 degrees, and your foot at 27.5. Bike fitting sort of got a little bit more technical. Ranges and joint angles were the first thing to sort of come about. A lot of people have heard of Retool Bike Fit, and Retool were sort of the first ones to sort of take this and create joint ranges, which is a really good starting position. Those are sort of safe ranges, if you like. So they're based on averages. So they're based on the average of every cyclist. Obviously, every cyclist isn't the average, so those ranges are never going to be sort of good enough, if you like, but they're a good starting point. So I use the numbers themselves as more of a way to measure change. So I know what change the bike position is having effect on your body. The numbers that we sort of aim for, it's always a sort of, is a range. It's never like, oh, you need a knee angle of 39 degrees and that's it. Anything out of that's going to be terrible for you. It's not the case. It's all based on what we spoke about earlier in terms of the type of riding that you do, what you want to achieve from the fit, what we did next door, looking at you in terms of flexibility, core strength, biomechanics, all that sort of stuff. So we know a certain joint range is suitable for you. Looking at your ranges here, 29.5 degrees is quite extended through the knee. You've got decent hamstring flexibility, but even so, that's a little bit too extended. The biggest impact that's having is actually at the ankle. 27.5 degrees is very toe down through the bottom of the pedal stroke. Your knee is extending as far as it's kind of comfortable in doing, and then your body's sort of cheating and getting the rest of that pedal stroke out through the ankle, through toeing down. Toeing down isn't necessarily like a powerful thing to do. It's not that efficient. We want the majority of the power to come from quads and glutes, like the big agonists. So we need to go a little bit lower with your saddle height. Okay, let's just get your cadence back up to where it was, so it's a little bit faster. Just tighten it, about there is good. I think the leg length difference is having a big effect, so we need to sort of deal with that basically. Just jump off the bike for me.
Okay, so we're now going to talk about shims leg length issues, because as part of this process, this isn't the video we planned to make, is it, to be honest? Because I didn't expect that I'd have a leg length discrepancy, but as Dan has found, both in the off the bike work and then translating to the on the bike work, I have a leg length discrepancy. So I'm not going to try and say leg length discrepancy many more times. Dan, what's going off and how are we going to try and fix it?
First of all, it's fairly common to have a leg length discrepancy, and most people do, and they're just fine with it. Like, it's just one of those things. We're not symmetrical as humans, so it's just one of those things. The reason that it can play more of a part in cycling is bikes are symmetrical. So when we put an asymmetrical body onto a symmetrical bike and we're trying to do a repetitive exercise, there are often differences in how the body's moving or position that the body's in. We found that we possibly have a leg length discrepancy next door. It's not like a mega accurate test, that, unless you stick yourself in a full body x-ray machine and physically measure the bones. But when you're on the bike, the differences there match what we found next door. So one of your knees is extending a lot further than the other, basically. You're sitting square on the saddle, but one side is having to do more extension. So what we do to sort of combat that is put a little shim under one of your cleats to raise up the shorter side, basically, to try and offset a bit of that difference.
Okay, so cleat spacer or cleat shim, is that the right word? Installed.
Shim,
What size is it? What does it do?
So this is a 3mm shim. It's 3mm the whole way around. You can get cleat wedges as well, which some people confuse them with. Wedges is an angled piece of equipment, basically. This is a flat shim. So this has gone under your right cleat, which is your shorter leg. So this is just to offset a little bit of that leg length difference. If you have a leg length difference and it's, let's say, for example, 10mm, even though we'd never really know how long it is, doesn't mean you need a 10mm shim or a 5mm shim even to go half and half. You just need something to offset a little bit of that difference, to encourage your body to do what it needs to do. In this case, we want your knee to extend less on this side.
I'm trying to think if it feels any different. I don't think it does.
You shouldn't really notice it. Even straight off the bat, you shouldn't really notice it. I think you're naturally, you can see your calf like properly switching on at that 5 o'clock position every time to like flick through the bottom, when actually you don't really need to now. This is the slow ankle thing. So this is why after changing your position, it takes a good few weeks for your body to adapt.
Yeah, you said you might lose that calf definition.
I know, yeah. take the screenshots now while we've got them, like, don't ever happen again. Good, right, just stop there a sec. You see like you're still really toe down?
Yeah.
But there's loads of knee flexion now. Right. Whereas actually, hopefully, what should happen over the next few weeks, knee extension should come back a bit, ankle flexion should come down, and you just balance out a little bit.
Okay,
so,
got it, okay.
Saddle fore aft, the saddle height has done the job. Yeah, so knees just nestled behind that blue line now, whereas before, on this side, it was in front. So we're just balancing out.
So that change was enough to bring it forward a little bit?
Yeah, exactly that. So we don't actually need to move the saddle forward or back on the rails now, because the saddle height the change in saddle height has done that for us.
Perfect. Okay, so saddle height, saddle fore and aft, done now, isn't it? So should we just recap what we've done? So we've dropped the saddle height, which has brought the saddle forward a little bit. But then the biggest change is probably stacking a shim on my right cleat, which is a 3mm shim. So we've got a separate video on shims in general, but that's been to address I'm struggling here, Dan, help me out, to address knee angle, hasn't it?
So saddles come down a lot, first of all.
About 15mm, wasn't it?
About 15mm, yeah, which is a good chunk. The biggest sort of, I guess, difference that we found was that the difference between your left and the right side. So the left leg being that slightly bit longer was just extending a bit less than the right side, and the right side was overextending because the leg is a bit shorter, basically, and your ankle was going very toe down at the bottom of the pedal stroke. Like I say, it matched what we did next door, so we know that it's related to that. So we put the shim under your right cleat to build up that side slightly, just to offset the difference, and that's just leveled you off a little bit, brought that knee a little bit further back, the knee's extending a little bit less now on the right side, so we've got a lot more balance to your pedal stroke now.
We talked a bit about ankle flexion, and that's going to take a bit of time, so I'm still pedaling toe down, and we think that over time I might be a bit flatter, or my calf will become less engaged because of the change in it.
So yeah, once your body starts to adapt to it, the ankle and the calf will start to engage a lot less, the knee will extend a little bit more, because at the moment you're just so used to pedaling toe down that that's all your body wants to do. So the changes that we've made are going to encourage your body not to do that, but it just needs time to adapt. So that's why after every bike fit, regardless of how much we change things or not, it takes about 4, 5, 6 weeks for your body to fully adapt to those changes and get used to those changes, and at that point then a lot of the time we review and then see what the changes are like at that point.
So we are now moving on to the front end of the bike, so reach, height, all of that jazz. I haven't helped matters by having cut off the top of my stem so we can't actually put any more stack in there, and the stem on Canyons is 1 1/4 inch, which isn't very common in the UK. But the main thing Dan's pointed out through looking at these visuals is what, Dan? Other than my bar tape being smelly.
Shifter position.
Okay.
So your shifters are almost positioned, almost nose down. So as we come across the horizontal of the bar here, you have this little bulge where presumably the bar tape ends. We haven't had a look under there yet. But then you've got this big dip into the back of your grip. So that's just going to encourage your body's weight to go over that dip and forward onto the back of the grips, which is going to cause potentially problems around shoulders, neck, hands. We just want to bring those shifters up a little bit so they're a little bit more angled, a little bit more appropriate for your position. Yeah. Bar
tape off, shifters loosened, shifters up. Let's go. Okay, so we've just concluded faffing around with bar tape and shifters, etc. We've essentially brought the shifters up a little bit so that my hand is more stable and more in line with the bars. Dan has got a before and after. I'll either put this over the screen, or if not, I will hold this camera up to there. So Dan, just talk me through what's happening.
Yeah, so that's where we were before with the shifters in the more downward, like horizontal position. We've not changed anything else. And then if we're looking at the hand position here, much more aligned through the wrist and the forearm, whereas there, you're really like pointing down over the top of the wrist. Yeah. And now much more stable.
Yeah. Good. And that's something that you might not notice riding for an hour or two, but then if you're spending 3, 4, 5 hours, things like that really make a difference.
It'll definitely affect how long you can hold the same hand position for without shifting around a lot on the bars. And actually shifter position is not something that a lot of people think about. They think about like bar rotation or stem length and things like that, but shifter position is really important.
Okay, and then as a result of that, because we brought these shifters up a bit, that's made me a bit higher, so we've done a little bit of maths. I need to get a stem that is 17 degrees, so it's a bit angled further down, basically drops 20 or 21 mils, which will then put me in a similar position to what was before, but with a supported hand and forearm now, so I will get on the online shopping later. So there we go then, Bike Fit done and dusted. Thank you very much to Dan from UK Bike Fit. Obviously, it wouldn't have been possible without him because he's the bike fitter. What a lot of things to change on my road bike. It just goes to show though, just because something isn't causing you pain doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't be looked at. I went in there with the intention of making sure I'm being as efficient as possible on the bike, and a few of those adaptations we've changed are efficiency related and a few are comfort related. I need to go buy some new shoes, some pedal shims, a longer stem, etc, etc, but it's been really, really worthwhile. Think how much time you spend on a bike, think how many pedal revolutions you do, all those little things. If it's slightly out, it's going to cause you some issues. I'm not saying you have to go to Dan at UK Bike Fit. Go to a reputable, well-recommended bike fitter. If it's Dan, brilliant, please let me know you came from this video, but if not, go to somebody near you who is good at pointing in the right direction. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you tomorrow for another video.